Greetings, family. Welcome to the AfrikanExodus show. I'm your host, Tierney Cherie, and I'm here to you with a new video. Before we get started, I do want to remind you, if you have not added yourself to my Telegram, that is the best way to stay connected outside of YouTube. You can contact me there. You can also be a part of the chat for this channel, and you will get notifications anytime that I post a new video. So the link to my Telegram is in the description. In addition, if you wish to support this channel, you can add yourself to my Patreon. In addition to receiving notifications, you will also receive an exclusive video just for you. So today we're going to start a new segment that has come out of Christianity, one that I think is very timely because of the things that are happening in this world. A lot is being revealed about the institutions, about the faces, about the people who we have been subscribing to under a religious system that I think if you read the Bible carefully and you read what Yahusha was calling for whenever he called for there to be a new movement, a new set of principles. I think if you read the Bible, specifically listening to his words and not imposing your worldviews on what he's saying and trying to grasp an understanding based on what you've been taught by people who say that they're following him, I think that an objective thinker would say that a lot of what we see in Christianity just does not match Yahusha and what he was calling for. And we hear about the followers of the way. That is what the people who followed him, his disciples, called themselves. They called themselves the way. I think whenever you look at how they moved through the world system, you would say also that a lot of what we see in Christianity is not reflective of the way. So what is Christianity then if it's not reflective of the way, if it's not reflective of Yahusha? What is this religious system that we've all been subscribing to? So I really want to delve into this deeply. And we're going to begin at the beginning. Really the post-apostolic age, after the apostles and the people who essentially were there during the writing of the New Testament had passed away. That's where we're going to start. And we're going to keep in mind the scripture that comes in, that this segment is named after, Revelations 18:4, saying, "Come out of her, my people, so that you will not participate in her sins and receive any of her plagues." So we have to understand there are curses associated with being a part of Babylon culture, Babylon politics, Babylon religion, and all of those curses, those plagues, are going to manifest themselves sooner now, maybe later, but we're going to see it happen. And don't think that because it hasn't happened yet that you are safe. Don't think because you call yourself a Christian that you're safe. As long as you have aligned yourself with a system that is anti-Christ, right? An anti-Christ agenda. If you've aligned yourself with that, it does not matter whether you intended to be doing so. What matters is that you have placed yourself in a position where you are essentially a part of a system that the system is going to fall, and you will fall down as being a part of that system. So let's get into what we're going to talk about today. So like I said, I wanted to start at the beginning. A lot of people, when they talk about the co-optation of Christianity or how Christianity became something other than what it should have been, right? They start at the Roman Empire, and that's the natural thing to do. That's obviously where a lot of the activities were happening. That's when it became a political institution where everyone were required to practice this religion. But I don't think that's the proper place to start. I honestly think you have to start basically right after all the apostles died off. The reason for that is because a lot happened between that time. It's about 300 years time between the apostles dying and then the Roman Catholic Church becoming institutionalized through Constantine. There's a lot that happened within that time. And I think if you don't know what happened, then you will be mistaken in thinking that some of the cultural features that you see in Christianity are natural or are attached to Christianity because it just comes from the Bible. It comes from the people who were followers of him. The thing that I hear a lot of people do is when they're trying to argue for a more organic Christian faith, they will go to people who they call church fathers. And a lot of people won't push back on these church fathers because a lot of them, you would think, these people lived maybe 100 years after Yahusha and on from that. These people you would think are closer to the message, closer to the original intent than people who came afterwards. But if you don't know that a lot of those people were also a part of other systems that were going on, then you'll be misled in thinking, oh, well, this person said this, so it must be right. This person is Tertullian, or this person is Ignatius. You know, these people come right after the apostles. These people must be right in their thinking. That's a fallacy, honestly. You have to investigate every single person. Every single person. I don't care who they are. You have to test every single person, because more likely than not, you have tares that are able to infiltrate. And those tares that are able to infiltrate can lay a very damaged foundation. And it doesn't matter the fact that these people were there in the beginning. Over time, things are built upon that faulty foundation, and obviously, eventually, you keep building on a faulty foundation, the thing is going to come down and fall. And that's what we're seeing happen. If you think about even a scandal with TB Joshua, and a lot of preachers are being outed, a lot of preachers are being accused of wrongdoing. We see this happening rapidly right now, but this is because of something that happened long ago. This is because of a foundational issue, a faulty foundation with which a entire faith system was built on top of it. And it doesn't matter, again, how many good intentioned people, I'm not someone of the belief that some of my brothers and sisters, particularly in the Israelite movement, say, oh, if you call yourself, or say you're practicing Christianity, that means you're not of Yahushua. I'm not of that belief personally. I don't follow the idea that we have to overly obsess over semantics. I don't care if you call yourself a Christian or you call yourself the Way. Those are labels. You can put labels on things and you can take labels off of things. What ultimately matters, if you are aligning yourself with Yahushua, with what he taught us, and with what he said is required of you, not what man says. And so I'm not saying that every single person who has come through this system or been birthed out of this system is necessarily of the devil. That's not at all the message that you should take away. But there are things that have been happening in the world system, inside of the religious system, that have to be dug out, have to be, that if we don't go through and sift through these things and be willing to do more research and do thorough investigations of the people who we have been assuming were of Yah when they were not, then you're going to find that a lot more people are going to keep falling away, because the hypocrisies become louder and they are seen for the whole world to see. So we have to be very sincere in our efforts to uncover truth, even when it's not convenient for our own personal agendas. Okay, so with that, let's talk about a scripture many of you might have read. So I want to talk about this within the framework of Mystery of Babylon. This is a scripture that many people have read. And usually when people are reading it, they are applying it to the Catholic Church, the Vatican, right? Because a lot of the things that we would associate with the Vatican resemble much of this scripture. So let's read through this. Revelation 17, New American Standard Bible. So starting with verse 1, then one of the angels who had the 7 bowls came and spoke with me, saying, come here, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed acts of sexual immorality. And those who live on the earth became drunk with the wine of her sexual immorality. And he carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, full of blasphemy, 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was clothed in purple and scarlet and adorned with gold, precious stones, and pearls, holding in her hand a cup full of abominations and of unclean things of her sexual immorality. And on her forehead a name was written, a mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and of the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of saints and with the blood of the witnesses of Yahushua. When I saw her, I wondered greatly, and the angel said to me, why do you wonder? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. So like I said, many of us read the scripture and we automatically think it's talking about the Pope or talking about the Vatican. And I think that absolutely attaches to what the scripture is talking about. But I think many of us are missing a broader point of a system that is at place that has been working since the inception of Babylon. Not just the later Babylon, the original Babylon, where the Tower of Babel was. This was the first major civilization from which all of the other ones were basically descended from. And so if you think about it as having a root in the beginning, almost the beginning of time, this is something that did not just pop up with the Pope or pop up with the Catholic Church. This is something, as the scripture says, that has been seducing the nations for over time, the kings of the earth. Everyone has drunken the wine of this system. So what we have to do is understand what the mystery was. Now, if you look up the term mystery in the Greek, it's actually mysterion, and the definition is a mystery or a secret doctrine. The common usage was a mystery, secret, of which initiation is necessary. That part might go over your heads because, again, mystery, we don't associate it with much inside of this current culture. You might talk about Scooby-Doo or something like that, but mystery had a much heavier meaning back then when this was written, especially inside of the Roman Empire. And mystery at that time was associated with cults, not just cults, religious cults that had wide followings throughout the Roman Empire. We'll talk about a number of them, but these were called mystery religions or mystery cults, okay? So when he's talking about a mystery of Babylon, he's not just saying that it's a mystery as far as question mark. He's saying that there's actually a cultic system, a religious system that is not something that is far and in between, unrelated. No, all of these things have its roots inside of the Babylon system. Again, the first system, the first civilization that ever existed, from which all others actually descended from. So let's learn a little bit more about these mystery schools. Now I'm reading from a website, Ancient Origins, very good and informative website. Mystery schools, rites of passage and initiations. By mystery, we mean a series of cults, religious practices, and rites developed and spread in antiquity throughout the Greek and Mediterranean world, in ancient Near East, and later throughout Hellenistic areas and in Roman Empire, whose roots are to be found in the pre-Greek cultures of the Aegean, Cretan, and Anatolian coasts. Cults, religious practices, and rituals were characterized by an initiatory path, which gave gradual access to knowledge into a following personal advancement. Essential to them was a strict vow of silence, to which all initiates were voted. The uninitiated were not allowed to have access to the teachings. Let me emphasize that again. The uninitiated were not allowed to have access to the teachings, to the revelations, and to everything that happened in the context of these ceremonies. Many of you might already be drawing semblances between what we know about particularly the Catholic Church at the time, where they were a political power, versus what we see right here, a separation, a hierarchy, an idea that only certain people are in a position to know the secrets. Only certain people could read, right? That's why initially the Bible would be written in Latin, a language that was not common to the common man. So they were trying to keep things hidden. They were trying to keep things basically behind closed doors as far as the clergy. And the common people would basically be on the receiving end, but not on the end where they were actually being let in to know the secrets of their religious system.
Discovered that the Greeks actually still rule the world. The Greeks are ruling the world from their grave. As a matter of fact, dead men rule the Bahamas. Dead men. Dead men rule America. Dead men. Dead men rule Europe. Dead men. Why? Their ideas are so powerful. They left it after they died. They invented democracy, and it's ruling the whole Western world, including the Bahamas. That's dead men ruling your country. The Greeks believed that you who were born with certain unique traits were automatically leaders. Those who were born without those traits are automatically slaves. So their society was very, very neat. No traits, traits. Slaves, leaders. Let me give you an example, because when I read the traits, I became a little bit sick. One of the traits were, if you were born with a sharp-pointed nose, blue eyes, fair skin, fair skin, like white, and thin lips. This is written in their document. You were born to be a leader. And if you weren't born with those qualities, then their conclusion was you were created by the divine gods to be a slave. They believe that. So it doesn't matter what you think about yourself. They would study you and see if you have those natural endowments. If you don't have them, it doesn't matter how many degrees you get from college. You are simply an educated slave. So this is serious. So this is the philosophy of the day. So putting on a suit and wearing a tie didn't impress them. You are simply a well-dressed slave. See, some of y'all think that changed. That's why I'm getting to it slowly. I'm working my way there. See, some of y'all think that because you came back home with a PhD, that they ain't gonna bring the white consultant in and work over you. And you got more degrees. Because somewhere in their twisted mind, they are still sick with Greek thinking. Here's the problem. When the Greeks were invaded by the Romans invaded this culture of the Greeks, but the Romans normally would go into a place and, wipe out the place. But when they came to Greece, they saw the beautiful temples, they saw all these gods, and beautiful statues. And then the Romans came to the capital and they saw the library with all these scrolls, all these writings. I mean, thousands of scrolls. And the Romans were so impressed. Now the Romans are military guys. They're not into thinking. They're into fighting. So when they came to Greece, they were astonished. They said, no other civilization is like this. So instead of destroying the library, the Romans saved it. And the Romans took the books from the library back to Rome. And the Romans studied and adopted Greek theory of leadership. And the Roman Empire ruled the whole world. Those of you who study history, the Romans ruled from Africa all the way up to Scotland. So the Romans ruled the world, destroyed themselves. Now here's the big part. The Roman Empire did not fall by invasion. It fell by disintegration. Disintegration means it fell apart, like a piece of cake that just broke up in little pieces. That's how the Roman Empire fell apart. Or you just broke up. And what happened was everybody scrambled for power. And the result was many little kingdoms. Instead of one kingdom, many little kingdoms. Let me give you some of their names. Spaniard, Franco, Belgier. Those Roman kingdoms. Anglo, Roman kingdoms. Portugal, Roman kingdoms. We know these kingdoms in English. Franco, France. Belgier, Belgium. Porco, Portugal. Anglo, Spaniard. They're all kingdoms. They are all Romans. You can get it after I'm gone. They are all Romans. So their psyche, their mentality, ingrained. We were chosen by the gods to rule anybody who don't have our traits. They were chosen by the gods to be our servants and our slaves. They are not complete divine beings like us. We are superior. So the French and the Spanish and the Portuguese and the British, Anglo, call them Anglican, they decided to expand their kingdoms. So they came to Africa and the Caribbean. And we call it colonization. Colonization is the expansion of Greek leadership philosophy.